Pros and cons, pros and cons. The world blames dad when it's really your mom. It's cracking. It's Friday. Is it Friday? It's Friday. Happy Friday. We're streaming a little early because I got some plans.
It is Friday.
But we wanted to stream. So we're here and now. Hopefully people still come and can tune in. I know we're early. We're not the best organized at consistency here, but we're doing the best we know how, okay? At least we're here. So anyways, I don't know who's here yet. Beard Guy is in the bathroom right now. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. We've been trying to stream as often as possible. It's been every day pretty much this week, so that's good. Got my coffee on deck.
Is that a pigeon?
It is.
Is it in the sky?
I saw Stevie Wonder today was talking about Black Lives Matter, and he said something like, we can't say Black Lives Matter but we're killing. How do we say Black Lives Matter and then we're killing each other in the street? Something along those lines, and I was like, wow, I knew Stevie had some baseness in him. I mean, he's blind and he knows,
The blind man can see.
And so when I heard Stevie say that, I instantly thought of a pigeon flying in the sky. And I thought, there's a pigeon in the sky on drugs.
What's up, Queen Butterfly? I knew she'd appreciate it because she always says you gotta go on earlier. So I was actually waiting for you to hop in here. So welcome, Queen. Happy Friday, by the way. JLG. Yes, we are early. We are white people time. Kind of let everyone stroll on in here.
Stroll on in. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted something today because I saw a tweet that I resonated with about Hollywood and how, Hollywood are the founders of the cancel culture, right? They're the influencers of that. And this tweet was, I don't know if you can see it. Can you pull it up so you can read what his tweet said?
Which one? The one you posted on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I don't want to, say it wrong.
Okay. Dan Bongino. If you guys don't know Dan Bongino, he's a
Hey,
former...
Dan Bongino, what's going on?
Hey, forget about it. He is a former, I think, NYPD detective. He used to work with the Secret Service.
Ooh.
He said, Mr. Bongino, Hollywood is about 5 minutes away from canceling itself. Any actors who played a police officer, handled a gun, wore blackface, satirically engaged with stereotypes, or used offensive language in the film, in other words, every actor in the business, is just minutes from cancellation.
Yeah, so they're basically canceling themselves, and I totally resonated with that because since I've became more awake in my life and started to see all the programming and everything, I realized that the Hollywood movies and TV shows are such a subconscious. They play such a subconscious role on our subconscious, and if you look back on the movies and stuff, all the characters they created, they were like planting characters in life. Like, a lot of people we have identity issues these days. And so people want to get their identity from either their culture or from, the way they dress or whatever physical way they can to make them feel like they are somebody, right? And Hollywood over the years, has always created and planted these little characters in these movies. And they want people to identify with those characters and make them feel like, that's me. Hey, I belong. That's just like me. And they're like getting people to identify with the characters they create. And one of the characters they've created that I've noticed in a lot of the 90s and early 2000s movies, 80s, 90s, all that time, they would always portray the dad as this working dad that never had time for his family. And he didn't spend quality time with his kids. And the mom was always correcting the dad, always trying to tell the dad that he needs to be with his family, and they always made the dad out to be this ass, like, oh, you have no time, you work so much and you have no time for your family. And she had like the backbone of the family. And I remember watching those kind of movies as a kid. Looking back, at the time, I didn't really think about it, but subconsciously, I compared those movies to my dad and to my family, because when you're a kid and you watch movies, you want your life to be like a movie. You know, at least for me and myself. I can't speak for everybody. But I knew that it influenced me, and I always felt like in my life I would get in my imagination and feel like life was a movie happening, and that it was weird. But now looking back, I can see how much they've pushed just programming. And now when I watch movies and TV shows or anything like that, I can still be entertained by it, but I watch it objectively. I don't get pulled in. A lot of people go watch movies and stuff like that because they like to be pulled in, and then they lose themselves in the movies. And they feel all these emotions, like people who cry, they're like, oh, that was so good, it's so touching. They're getting pulled in, losing themselves. But, yeah.
It's a setup. It's all fake. Fake outrage, fake everything. Hollywood has created a living matrix, and we're the subjects. You know, like he says, every storyline that you've ever grown up with, and you got to really look back and separate yourself, and you realize that every movie you've taken in, every cartoon show, every song, everything, every skit, they have a role that these people are playing.
They're magicians.
And how they play these roles, how they portray a father, how they portray a child.
How they portray interracial stuff.
Everything. Love, sex. How do you stand up? How do you speak up? What do you put up with? What don't you put up with?
And if you notice too, like, because when you're not aware, you don't really notice it. You just see it and watch it, and you're entertained by it, but you're absorbing it and thinking that real life is the way it is, and you're not realizing that the movies and things you've consumed have persuaded and had influence on how you see the world. And another thing is damn it, my mind just erased.
But
I'll get it back.
There was a couple other topics that we saved because we were thinking of some things we could talk about. So before we save here's a big one. We'll ask this question.
I remember now. Sorry. That with especially these days the white characters that they play, right? They're always like in high school stuff. The white guys are always the nerdy guys, right? And any guy that's it's like a nerdy beta in school.
Yeah, weak.
And then the guy that has the alpha nature that is masculine or anything. He's always an asshole, like a bully or some kind of
jock, a borderline racist.
Someone like that. And
there's no strong white men in films.
Yeah, there's no
without
strong.
Being, he's only strong if he's a friend of. He's an ally to minorities and LGBT.
Exactly.
But he can't be strong and be a patriot. He can't be strong and not accept that out of love. Like if you don't accept it, they say you're hateful. Why do we have to tolerate everything?
Right. Yeah, that's something that I noticed looking back especially now when I watch movies that I used to watch or that I love, that I can see that's what's happening in it.
Yeah, Slang Insider. She follows us on Instagram. She says yes, they always do that with the alpha. Yeah, every movie that there's a white guy who's an alpha, it's some twisted form of alpha where he's always a jerk. He hates women. He always dogs them. Or they just at least portray him so that you think, man, this guy's a sexist, he's a racist, he's everything.
And a lot of people take on they're like, how dare you dismiss my experiences, when they don't even realize that a lot of feelings that they have about things aren't even their real experience. It's influence from watching all those movies and thinking that's just the way it is in life.
Exactly.
When a lot of people, maybe you have had some experiences here and there of things. I'm not trying to take away real experiences from people, but people don't factor that in. That a lot of times we think that we're gaining experience in the world by sitting on our couch and watching a movie.
No.
When you're watching a movie where it's in Alaska, you feel like, oh yeah, I know Alaska. I've seen Alaska.
Yeah.
You've
I know
never
police
been there.
brutality. I've seen it because I've seen it in all the movies.
Right. Exactly.
It's a false memory. Hollywood creates memories, and that's why it's a living matrix. You have to unplug from it. You have to have discernment and keep distance between you and the world, because it is propaganda, and Hollywood has always been propaganda from the day it was born. It's never been here to help people overcome. It's here to suck you into an emotional world that they create.
And the snowflakes will say, I don't believe it.
Jen says, yes, totally. Old Testament, so much division, good versus evil, all is well, super blessed. I want to try to be there this Sunday. Yeah, come through. If you're in the LA area and you want to come to the best church this side of heaven, no singing, no dancing, no imagery on the walls, no rituals, just good old-fashioned hanging out and talking. what you've never experienced in church in your life. Come down to Bond, B-O-N-D. Slang says, and to think Hollywood is blind to their influence is ignorance.
Exactly.
They know exactly what they're doing. That's the thing. Like, these are, people who believe, they call it conspiracy theory about the black arts and magic. I mean, the fact that Hollywood comes from the name of a tree, the holly tree, and the wood of the tree, the holly wood, is what they use to make magic wands. All of Hollywood is illusions. That's what they call it. What do they call them? The Hollywood magic, because it really is magic. Because by creating a scene on film that's powerful, it's emotional, you can change someone's psychology in the real world, and they do that every day, and they're masters of this.
And now it's like I've hit a fork in the road too, because I create music. The music is the same way. All arts are that way, because music has the power to make you feel something, and it seduces you. Meanwhile, there's a message that's being implemented into you, and it could go in subconsciously, like even all the gangster rap and stuff. Like, the gangster rap came from real street people, right, back in the 80s and 90s. And then nowadays, it's just like, you don't have to be a gangster, you don't have to, but you can portray the character. And so the people that are the rappers, like Chance the Rapper and stuff like that, they're not from the streets. They're not like, they don't, but they're talking like, I'm not saying, blasting Chance the Rapper, because I know he has a lot of positive messages and stuff too. Don't get us
Sorry.
demonetized. But the new generations, they don't know, they don't think about that stuff. That it all originated from somewhere, and it's, I don't know. Some people think, I'm curious what you guys think, because some people think that rap was created by a higher up person, that it was all a plan to destroy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know those stories.
The credit solutionist is in the chat.
What do you know? Credit solutionist, everybody's using it.
Your credit. She says, it's meant to hypnotize. You're staring at flashing images for 1 to 2 hours in a dark room, theater or living room. Total hypnosis. Exactly. We took it for granted, and they seduced us into it because it does take you away to some place. And at first it was innocent, but it's not innocent, and it's not run by people who have good intentions. Hollywood and the CIA all come from the same DNA. They're here to manipulate humanity.
And at the end of the day, it's not a blame game. What it is really is that it's the demoralization of society. Because I could watch movies now objectively, and I don't get pulled into them. Because of course I enjoy watching movies and whatever. I like being entertained. But it's that fine line of the awareness of it, so that I'm not pulled into it and I'm objectively watching instead of subject to the movie. You know what I'm saying? Hollywood just needs to stop acting like they're the innocent little...
And they are not spokesmen. Like, that's the thing. People worship celebrities, and just because a celebrity endorses a cause, you think that person serves the right spirit. Almost all these celebrities are corrupted. They're evil. They're not happy. Some of them are closet, LGBT, but they act like they're not. And hey, that's their prerogative. But it shows you that they're hiding something. They're two-faced. They can't just be themselves, because they all serve an agenda. They serve their own ego. They'd rather just keep getting paid and getting money and getting fame and staying relevant than speaking up and doing what's right. And the few Hollywood movie stars who do speak up, like James Woods, they get called out and nearly blacklisted from Hollywood. Elijah Wood, he talked about all the pedophilia in Hollywood before. When his movie rolls, like, he's not in as many movies as he was. He did Lord of the Rings and stuff, but he got lucky that guy just picked him for the role. But all this stuff is known. There's evil in Hollywood. It's not a bad apple.
Yeah, Mel Gibson was hated for a long time.
Yeah, Mel Gibson knows what's up. You buy Mel Gibson 3 beers and you'll find out the truth about Hollywood. And people are lazy, says Slang Insider. Deadly sin. So they let others tell them what to do. It's hard to seek the truth. It's like Trevor says, it's not about blame. Don't blame. Don't fall for that trap either. It's not enough just to see who's doing it. You need to stop taking it in. You need to stop being manipulated by the images. You watch it, but watch it from a distance. Keep discernment.
You never lose yourself, because if you always keep yourself, then you can start to see it for what it is. Like, when I listen to music, I don't get pulled in, because I'm listening to what's happening and how it was constructed, right? And another thing that helps me is I grew up with my dad, a camera operator, and going to the movie set, and watching how movies are made and stuff. So I never see it for what it is, like where I'm pulled into the movie. I know why things are the way they are. You know, and when I listen to music, I'm like, oh yeah, bass line. Oh, that's doing this, and these are doing that, and so I'm not hearing it as a flat image, you know, where I'm just seduced by it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, stay present. Don't go up into your head about it, because that's what, you know, a good movie will do. You'll feel something. Like, think about all this, like Yale, a friend I got out of Utah. He said it was pretty interesting that this Michael Jordan documentary that came out. I didn't watch it, but apparently, I guess there was undertones of racism between, I think it was Larry Bird and Jordan, or Steve Kerr and Jordan. Basically, they brought that into the film, and I guess Jordan punched a white guy, one of these guys. And so he said that the takeaway was like, blacks can stand up when they feel like the dude's being racist, go ahead and punch a white guy. So, and that happened to happen right before these riots. And you can look at Hollywood, and it releases films and skits and commercials to fan the flames. And usually it precedes a big event, and during the event, they just lay it on even thicker.
I remember it reminded me of a story I saw on Facebook of a friend of mine that, he black. He said that he was out at a bar or something like that, and he heard somebody he didn't even know drop the N-word who was white. And so he went up to the guy and says, hey man, you better watch your mouth, or like, you know, something like that. And then the guy said it again. And then he punched him in the face. And all the comments were like clapping, like, good for you, you know. And I remember leaving a comment on there like, man, I was like, even though it was wrong that he said that, at the end of the day, he just said words. You actually enticed violence.
Exactly.
You know, and then I got attacked for it. Like, you know, you don't know what it's like, and I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's like, there's nothing anybody can ever say that's going to make you want, you know, that's going to justify hitting somebody or being violent.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to attack you first, or, you know, threat to your family or anything like
Words are words. If words make, I don't care if it's the N-word or any word, if a word makes you want to hit somebody, you're the problem. You are the problem. You need to check yourself, because that's weakness. You're a weak person, and you serve evil. Because words shouldn't touch you. The world shouldn't touch you. There should be a distance between you and the world. And if that word is getting to your soul, you're the problem. You're weak. So get over it.
There's a resentment there that allows that word, because if it was a black person that said it, I'm sure it would be nothing, right? But because it was a white person that said it, all of a sudden it enticed this anger. So at the end of the day, there's a resentment there towards white people.
Yeah, and that's what we were just talking about the other night, how, you know, you can be, like Trevor said, you can have 10,000 amazing moments with somebody, and then you have one moment of disagreement, or what they perceive as a disagreement, or a slight against their character, and they will hate you for the rest of your life.
All those moments are gone.
Like, as if that reveals your true self. You know, a black guy can tell another black guy the N-word 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. One white guy says it, and he acts like that's the end of the world, when he didn't just say it 1,000,000 times to somebody else.
Even if it's like joking around and saying, it's like, say, a white guy that was comfortable and he hung out with a black friend and he wanted to be like one of the guys, and so he said it or something. You know, I mean, I don't do that, but I can imagine someone has. And it'd be like, he'd get checked by them. Be like, hey man, you know, you can't say that.
Yeah, the mood would change. Like,
exactly.
Record stop. It's like, why is it weird if he says it?
And at the end of the day, it's like, if everyone's equal, we should all, you know, someone's heart, and that's the main thing. You know, it's not about, you know, skin color. And there's a lot of people that resent you because of your skin color.
Know the heart. I mean, if all the black girls at church and black guys at church called me, you know, said, hey, what's up, cracker? I would laugh.
I don't care.
Because
I've had people say that to me.
I know their heart, so I don't care. I think it's funny. And then when I drop the N-bomb, they better start laughing too.
Exactly.
You know? That's right. Sang it, Trevor.
If you want to call in, 818-308-5559.
Let me just make sure my phone's not tripping.
There's a...
Okay, so yeah. I know we had a Duran in the chat was trying to call in. I don't know if it's a dude or a gal. But let's present the question, one of the questions at the top of this chat.
There's a pigeon in the sky
We'll let you
on
guys.
drugs.
So, do you want to pose the one about how we need more Jessies, or should we pose the other ones?
I don't know what the other ones are. I forgot.
The other ones are like, why do Americans have to accept everyone?
Oh, why do Americans have to accept everyone? I don't even know. I don't even know the answer to that.
So here's a question I'll pose I want to hear the answers to. So think about it, smoke on it, drop your answers in the comments when you call in. Feel free to answer if you want. And I'll give my thoughts at the end if I don't forget. But why do Americans have to accept everyone? Why do Americans have to accept everyone? Smoke on that one. And again, phone number to call in, 818-308-5559. And don't wait till it's too late. Call in whenever you get the feeling.
Yeah.
Bitch! There, Skills Carmine in the chat. What up, brother? There have been awkward moments in the studio with black friends that say, you know what, man, you white, but you my N-word, man. You cool. And it's like, thanks.
I've had people say that to me. I had a buddy, I remember like years ago, we were hanging out, we did a gig, and we were drinking and hanging out. He's like, man, you're my N-word, man. He's like, and I'm yours. He's like, I want you to say it. He's like, say it. And I was uncomfortable. I was like, no, I ain't saying it. And then he's like, say it. And eventually he pulled it out of me. I was like, all right, you're my. And I said it, and he's like, all right, cool.
He's like, say it.
That was the only time ever that actually happened. And then there was another time recently, actually, who's someone who I don't trust, someone who I barely even knew. Like I knew on social media, right? And we were exchanging a conversation about stuff, and then he's like, man, give me your info. We got to connect. So I talked to him on the phone, and then he told me, like, say this. And this time I was like, nah, man, I ain't saying nothing. Because I don't know, because eventually he ended up turning on me anyways and, like, being super weird, man. So I'm glad I didn't end up saying that, because he could have been recording the conversation or whatever so that he could use it against me somehow. I don't trust that.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't care. It's a word, man. And
Right, but the people, I don't trust them.
no, when they try to bait you like that, for sure. Because, like I tell him, the way I operate now, and why I don't care what people think at all anymore. I don't care, because they're gonna call you what they're gonna call you. An angry person will call you any name in the book, and guess what? If you're a different color than them, what do you think they're gonna go to try and hurt your feelings? You know, racial things, but it's not racial. It's just an insult. Period. And it only hurts you if you let that word touch your soul. So it doesn't matter. So don't get caught up saying he's a racist. It's just, is he evil or is he good? Are you evil or are you good? Do you do the same thing? We all will try and hit below the belt if we get hurt. But once you overcome that stuff, you don't go there. And if you do, you say it funny from the heart and you make jokes about it. You laugh at it. So yeah, don't get caught up with racism and any isms. It's good or evil, People will say what they want to say to hurt you. Don't intellectualize it. It's very simple. Mark says that's racist. A Mexican would say that. Skill says the easiest way to get America to eat itself from the inside out. Accept everyone. Open system, society that weakens, that breaks our rights. Exactly.
No, interesting. You're not supposed to say what you think.
Yeah, I haven't said what I think, but I think that's a good answer. Mark, so if you got late to the chat, but there's a question I posed. Why do Americans have to accept everyone? Why do Americans have to accept everyone?
Somebody might say, well, I think everybody should accept everybody. Actually, Victoria.
She black.
Actually, Victoria. Victoria.
Hi, guys.
She is. She black.
Hey, quick question
She
though.
black.
I really am cooking right now. Can you hear it in the background? Like, is it too loud?
Nope, what is that,
No,
fried chicken?
I don't hear it. Are you making fried chicken and ham hocks?
No, it's a piece of steak. I don't even know what cut it is.
Oh,
Hold up, let me
nice.
look.
I haven't had
That's
steak in a
right.
while.
That's
I love
right.
steak.
That's
Good
alpha
filet
right
mignon.
there. Are you putting lots of butter?
It's an Angus beef fillet, and yes, I'm using unsalted butter.
Black Angus.
Kerrygold.
That's right, Kerry Gold. He loves that stuff.
Yep.
Kerry Gold is amazing. It's out of Ireland. It's the Irish.
Yeah, so Irish. Oh my God. But no, I gotta sear it and then I'm gonna pop it in the oven like filet mignon because it's really thick.
You sound like an Oreo cookie. Black on the outside, white on the inside.
You guys are silly. Oh my God. But listen, okay. All right, now it's in the oven. Let me time this thing. Okay, so with what you just said, I mean, my perspective might be a little, like, spotty. You know how I get. But, oh my God, it's not just American people. Black people have that too.
What?
And
Have what?
I know.
Have what?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Have what? What do they have?
Oh, where they have to accept everybody. Now, I'm saying this as a black person in a black family.
Are you saying black Americans or just all black
Anytime-
people across the board?
Like,
Like, are you talking about
African
Africans,
blacks?
Nigerians?
Black
Chinese
Americans.
blacks?
Black Americans.
Okay, so they fall in
Now-
line with Americans.
Yeah, so they are still Americans because in my in the way my mind works, the way my heart works, black people are Americans. We are not Africans.
Right.
So anyway, I guess it does fall under the same category. But here's the thing: it's like anytime a black guy brings a girl home that is not black, the family, for the most part, does accept her. They don't care if she's like ratchet, horrible for him. It doesn't matter. They will accept that girl. Same thing sometimes with guys. I will say every non-black guy that I brought home, my family probably didn't want to accept him, but they forced themselves to accept that person. So is that a family thing, or is that an American thing, or is it a spirit thing? Like, what is it exactly? Because I notice black people do that a lot.
I think it's social pressure. Because
Some pressure
I think to
from what though?
because
I'm wondering.
because society pressurizes everybody to that if you want to stick to your own, if you don't have that freedom, that you're racist if you don't, and that it's wrong, and that you should accept everybody in a partnership or whatever like that. Like
we were just watching this interesting video. It was a Jewish psychologist who is well known in the movement of anti-racism, quote unquote. But everything she does is to further this idea that whites are evil if they dare prefer their own kind, and that's all her studies are geared towards. And it was amazing that she got all these beta males, like she had a Native American, a black guy, and a white guy, all betas of their community. And then the black guy and the native were okay to like their own and prefer their own, but if the white guy liked it, he was like, whoa, I didn't realize I was so unconsciously biased. I really need to work on that. And like it's manipulation. Like why can't you prefer your own kind, and why does that have to be hate towards others? Can't I love people who look like me and want my children to marry someone that looks like us? Is that hateful?
Yeah, and like I said, that's part of the thing that I'm not even gonna call it a struggle anymore. It's just something that I'm observing and waiting for the answer, because to me, again, this is not a diss to anybody that's like biracial, whatever, because even you, dear dude, like you're biracial or multi-ethnic, whatever you want to call it.
yes,
It is actually, it can be construed as self-hate to dilute your race. You are diluting your identity by doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
By mixing. You are absolutely, that to me is the most blatant form of self-hate and self-destruction and destruction of the race.
Right.
Again, I'm not saying that people that are mixed are not supposed to be here, but it's like, if we're just being honest, which is what we try to do with each other, that's what it is.
Yeah. The way I look at it now is that God made us as different nations, and we're all supposed to come to this nice big round table like knights, and we have the leaders of our different nations meet up, and there'd be a black guy, a Chinese guy, a little Mexican guy, you know, and then a white dude.
Well, you gotta be little.
You know, yeah, a little Mexican guy, like Black Stepdad, little tiny Mexican, you know, and then a big old white dude, Viking style, and then they would all sit around this table as representatives of their nations, and they could work together in concert, in harmony, but it doesn't mean that they have to force their cultures on each other. Doesn't mean they let some other outside influence money changer come in and tell them that they're evil if they dare keep their nations unique and preserve those cultures and traditions. It's what makes their nations beautiful. So I absolutely agree. Like, this forced mixing is a destruction of God's order.
Yeah, and the thing is, for the most part, like, it is people that are asleep, because I'm only speaking for the black people that I've had this experience with. So I'm not speaking on everybody, but the people that I've seen that push this thing, like, oh no, we need to race mix, we need to do this, we need to do that, when you ask them why, they literally always say, because my kids will be beautiful. So it's always aesthetics. It has nothing to do with culture. It has nothing to do with building community. It just has to do with creating something that doesn't look like you to get as far away from your image as possible.
Right. And what's the idea of
whether it's
beautiful
hate from your
anyway?
father, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I guess they have some idea of what beautiful is, I guess.
Yeah, and it goes back to the Hollywood thing that you guys were talking about, because, again, in the black community, which is all I'm going to speak on, is that they do hold certain aesthetics to a higher standard. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's all from Hollywood. I will say a good chunk of it is, but that's a big thing that goes on in our community too. You know what I mean? Like, it's mind-boggling. You know, because I used to go to school with guys that would talk like this. I used to work with guys. You know, neither one of my brothers is going to marry a black woman. You know, my older brother, he just married I don't know if she's Mexican or what, but he married a non-black woman. And when I look at all of my relatives, none of them are dating black women. None of the men in my family date black women.
That's right, because they hate their mama.
Yeah, and to me, if you hate your mother, then guess what? You hate a part of yourself as well. Regardless of how people want to slice it, you came from your mother and your father.
That's right. So you end up looking for a woman that looks physically different, the complete opposite, but she ends up having the same spirit.
Totally. And what's so funny is every time my older brother has dated a girl, he always says, she's just like you. You're gonna love her. And I'm like, bro, you don't want a girl like your mama, remember?
Exactly.
Because deep down, my brother's angry at my mom. We just haven't touched that topic yet, you know? Yeah. But it's just one of those things.
And if your
mom... like I said, I guess it is an American thing, not just a black thing, but I just noticed it in our community. I'm like, dude, why do we accept everybody? Like what the media shows you, that happens, but behind closed doors, black families and stuff, they do welcome white people and non-blacks. Like, they love it.
If a family is a perfect family, right, and the mother was close to her father, and she found her husband because she had a good example of what a man was, and they came together and had kids, then you would want a woman that was like your mother. But nowadays, the mothers are not good examples, and they impose themselves. They're so willful, they impose onto the sons that their spirit gets into the son. And they take on that identity because it was imposed onto them, and so then they end up resenting it, and then they attract what they resent, and they attract that resenting spirit that they have. But if it was done right, if they were not so willful, and they allowed, boys to get hurt, and weren't so protective of trying to, shelter them from life, then they would find the right woman, I think.
Yeah, I mean, whatever that looks like, and like I said, I'm still not totally clear on the whole thing because, again, you have two people that are waking up or awake or whatever, but they don't look the same. They're not the same race. So what does one make of that? You know what I mean? Because either it's possible or it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like either you're awake and you're going to date interracially, knowing that you're about to dilute your race and your image, or it's not being awake doing that. You know
Ultimately,
what I'm saying? Like,
I think
that's a gray area that none of us have been very, 100% on that.
Yeah, ultimately, I think that it's not. It's mainly to look out for the children, because the children are going to feel out of place. They're not going to feel. It's like if the whole family is like, well, we're all a family that look like each other, and we're a family. Like, if everyone looks completely different from each other, the dad looks different than the mother, and the kid looks different than both of them, because they're a mix of the two. Like, when they go to school and stuff, they're going to be like, well, where do I belong? I can't hang out with the white guys because I'm white, but I don't look white. I can't hang out with the black people because I'm black, but I don't look all the way black. Whatever it is, whatever the races are. But I know that there is a trauma there, and they have to find out where they belong. And so I think that's really the root of it.
Yeah, that's exactly my experience, and that's why I don't want to further mix. If I have kids, I want them any more mixed than they have to be, because it does lead to trauma. It's unnecessary trauma, and it all comes from a selfish place of my parents. My dad was selfish because he resented his mom, so he found a woman that looked different. She may have been light-skinned and had European blood, but she was from Central America. it ended up being the same spirit. He was still subject to my mother, and it doesn't change anything. Just like you see the stereotype. I got cousins, some white on my white side. They got with some black men, had some babies, beautiful cousins. I love them, but it didn't work out. Husband, the husband and mama split, and it ends up feeding that stereotype. And you wonder, like, what? Is it a stereotype or is it a symptom of a deeper problem? Like these black men who are not in the home, whether it's a white woman as a baby mama or the black woman, they're not in the home. Period. On the whole, they're not in the home. There's all these numbers. The fact that the highest earning blacks in America show higher crime rates than the lowest earning whites tells you that it's not a race thing. There's something wrong with the spirit. And it's something that didn't start too long ago, 60, 70, 80 years ago. And if we don't fix that, well, it doesn't matter how much you complain about Black Lives Matter or police brutality, it will continue and it will get worse because we're not addressing the soul, the real root issue of this.
Yeah, and I noticed that when you do bring that to people and you present it to them, the ones that have already bought into the narrative that it's not black people's fault, blah blah blah, they tend to back down, because I had that conversation with someone the other day, and I didn't go so far as to say, well, actually, like, if you weren't angry with your dad or your mom, you wouldn't be justifying Black Lives Matter. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, when you say that to somebody, if they're already really far down that Black Lives Matter rabbit hole, they're not even going to understand the concept to be able to connect the dots with that. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to be able to connect.
Yeah, I hear you. You know what I realize is that when you bring up, say, the whole Black Lives Matter thing, the whole argument is that, well, if Black Lives Matter, then you would say that, there's so many black people that are killing each other, right? And they're making up 50% of the crime. And they're killing each other. And so that's what people are saying. But then the argument is, well, that's not injustice. That's not injustice, because we want justice for the crooked cops, right? But what people miss is that the way the cops work is that people are getting, black people are having trouble with the cops because of the 50% of the crime that's being committed by 8% of the community. And so they're more likely to have police issues because cops are trained to be more suspicious. And, statistically, if you are black, there's more chances of you being a criminal, right?
It's a higher,
There's a higher chance of that. So the unjust, it's connected, and people are missing to see the connection, which is, if there wasn't that much crime, right, then there wouldn't be the problem with the police.
Right, and it's like the thing of, like, when you dress like a gangbanger, you got your pants hanging down, you're overly aggressive with authority, and then you sit there and say, they're just picking on me, man, it's because I'm black, dog. It's like, no, it's because you're acting unruly, you have a problem with authority, and it's highly likely, based on the statistics, that I'm going to be a little more on edge and cautious with you, so you don't get the jump on me.
And if Black Lives Matter was including of black on black crime and black lives in general, I feel like white people would be more embracive to help people. It's like if you're pushing your own car, right? Your car pulled over and you're pushing it. Someone's more likely to stop and help you than if you're just waving your hands and doing nothing. If you're already trying to work on yourself and do something, you're gonna get help along the way. But if you're demanding, like, hey, you better stop and help me, or else,
Exactly. Push your own car first and watch everyone pull over and help you. It's a classic example of how do for self will lead to more benefits than just sitting there complaining about your broken down car.
Because I want to help, and I love black people, but my opinion, for the most part, from black people is received wrong. They think that I'm not standing with them, and they think that I'm, whatever they think about me. They're going to think it about me.
Question, Victoria. Now that you're waking up, do you think that a woman who wears revealing clothing and shows off her cleavage and wears form-fitting stuff all the time, do you think that she's looking for respect when she wears those outfits?
No. How interesting. I almost feel like you were a fly on the wall, because I was talking with one of the Bond girls today about this. And I said something that, now looking back, I know it was very ego-driven. So women that do that are definitely engaging in sorcery. I know we throw that word around a lot. But that's what it is. Like, he definitely wants attention. Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm being so hungry right now.
Get that steak.
Get that black
yeah,
Angus.
that's and it's like charred on the outside,
That's
but
the best.
it's like medium rare.
That's like
Okay.
butter char.
But no, we do that. We absolutely do that for attention because there are a couple of ways that, well, really there's like only two ways that we can even elicit attention from men, and that is, to be sexual,
Mm-hmm.
To kind of tease you, to use that, really that's the only way if I'm being honest. And then the other way we kind of get to your ego, I guess, is to kind of make you feel like we're just this close, but you can't have us. So I guess that kind of goes back to sexual.
I would
stuff
say
too.
it's
but that's the only
sex
reason
and
that women
sex
do
and
it.
emotions.
You do it to get your attention.
Yeah, they're gonna use sex, or they're gonna make an appeal to emotion.
Just like that caller that called in, the 20-year-old,
Mhm.
he said that he'd go on dates, but as soon as they found out that he didn't want to have sex, they're like, this isn't going to work. I need sex. But if you went to a girl on a date and you're like, I'm ready to have sex, she's like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah, slow
I
down.
don't want to have sex.
I'm not some kind of whore.
I'm not like that.
Exactly, and we do that a lot. We do that all the time because at the end of the day, it is true what you all say. Jesse said it. Other men have even said this before I found any of you guys, that if it weren't for the sex, you guys would not want anything to do with us.
Amen.
Because
Nothing, because women
that's
are nuts.
no, seriously, that's the only thing we really bring to the table because
That's right. And
you
sandwiches.
cannot
Don't forget
procreate
sandwiches.
without us. You can't have it. You
Yeah.
know?
It's
Like-
absolutely true. I mean, women, they don't. That's what the hardest battle, and that's why I'm glad you guys have your little bond group going, because you guys have to check each other and make sure that you don't just become intellectually born again, which is a woman's biggest battle, because you can know the right way, you can memorize the right way, you can know all the truth in the world. But if you don't live it
Yeah.
and you don't check your egos, speak less, make more sandwiches, then you'll suffer.
Now, I do have a question for you guys, though, because the reason women do this is because it works. And I would even venture to say that it works on men that are waking up as well. I think it's a very effective weapon because even in waking up, I've noticed that a lot of the guys, even some guys at church, like you guys are still drawn to a certain aesthetic. And it's like, it's a little sexual. Like, I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, I see how powerful it is. It's like, holy crap.
What it is, that's what strength is. That's what makes a strong man, is that he's not influenced by his environment. And a lot of women these days, they're like, I'm a strong woman, but they confuse strength with willfulness. They're very willful, but that's not strength, you know?
Right.
Strength is being able to say no and not be seduced by your environment, for sure.
Yeah, strength is remaining silent and still.
Doing what's right. But I agree. I have it ingrained in me. I do check out women. But I catch myself, too. I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. It's like we have to be honest about the things that, on one end, we do recognize that it's not right, it's not fair. A woman that does that is full of ego. However, waking up or not, if you give attention to that and if you're drawn to that, you are absolutely part of the problem, and you have to accept that. You have to, you know what I'm saying? Because if we can't fix it, if we don't shine a light on it and say, okay, this thing is strong. That's why women keep doing it, because it's even penetrating. Oh God, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to use that word.
Penetrating.
I would say it's permeating. Like, it could still permeate a church. It could still permeate a guy that's waking up.
See, I'm white and slow. What does that mean, permeate?
We're strong that way. Like, women can push that on you, and we can make you weak. Like, that's never going to go away unless, obviously, we get old and wrinkly.
But
it's like,
you can be old and wrinkly and still have that massive ego.
That's true, and you can be, what is it, a MILF?
That's why if I do notice things, I'm discreet. Like, amongst the guys, I'll say stuff, but I don't want to let them know that I'm even interested. Like girls like that too. Like I like to compliment the girls that are the ugliest one in the group, just to make the other girls.
Trevor. Wow. No. Don't do that because then you end up with Lizzo. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like
God.
you have girls that shouldn't be out there
Fat, nasty.
promoting and they do, you know? That's what I'm saying. It's like we all just need to keep to ourselves. Like if you're interested, just go off to the side and say something. But it's like that's again the sexual thing. Back to what Rich was asking about. It's like yeah, we sleep or awake. Like we're aware that dressing scantily, you know, it gets results, and it's not 99% of it's not going to be the result we want, but it's only that 1% that we're looking for that is going to work. You know what I'm saying? So
it's also
I mean
the way women also talk, and the more awake I get, and the more I grow into it, it just becomes so painfully obvious. There's that they feign this kind of like, oh well, can you do it for me? And all like there's little ways that they feign weakness. They try to draw you in so that they set you up like, oh, will you be my hero? Will you be my Enrique Iglesias?
Oh, I don't know what to do with little old me.
Yeah, and it's like that's what you got to watch out for. Or they create a problem that's non-existent. They just create a scenario, and they're like, well, you know, you don't tell me how pretty I am. You just don't say it enough. And then you're like, what?
That's true.
And you're like saying like, well, I mean, I'm sorry. I guess I'll say it more, and boom, she's got you. You know, that's why I'm a hardliner on it. Stop playing these games with these women. You know, like they can't help it, but don't entertain the ego at all.
Well, I think we were talking about it one time. I may have called in or something, but we were talking about how women with a certain aesthetic do get over on more men, and they're allowed more chances. They're allowed to, you know, mess with your ego a little bit. They're allowed to make you mad. They're allowed to do a lot of things that maybe, again, the girl that doesn't look like what you want her to look like, but she may be the better fit for you. A lot of times, guys will just kind of turn their back on that to go chase the pretty, shiny penny, but it's only a penny.
Well, why do you think
why
do you think it's more common to see a beautiful young girl with a rich, ugly man? You don't see beautiful young guys with ugly old women.
Exactly. Well, sometimes for the money.
True. That's very rare. When you see that, that's very rare.
Yeah, I'm not saying but you just don't see it. It's way more common. For sure.
And that's what I brought up, and why I like the idea of observing that women make these lists. And I know Grace called in, and she was able to kind of identify with that and see that she was keeping these lists. And I know you've talked about it. And it's a big thing with women. Like you said, they keep this idea that they know what's what, they know what's right, they know what's best for them. Yet you spent half your life living wrong and dating men that were bad for you, and yet you still think you have the truth, and at the same time you know what's best. I mean, you find people like Jesse in your life because you were living wrong to begin with. So what makes you think that you know any better at that point just because you know you should forgive your mama? And that's what, if they can't let go of that and say, but he must be a 6'6" super jacked special forces soldier with $1 million in the bank, and he'll buy me every Yves Saint Laurent purse in the world. It's like, if you can't let that go, you'll never find the one who's going to lead you out of hell.
It's because a lot of women think that leading is a guy that's going to make the plans. You know, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to dinner at 7 o'clock at this place. And she's like, yeah, he's leading me. But leading really is, on a deeper level, is leading her out of her emotional hell and into his logic, and not able to walk all over him. You know, scheduling the dinner is not the real leading. You know, I mean, sure, it could be a part of it, but there's a deeper leadment.
Yeah, the man you need that is best for a woman is the man who's not going to put up with your ego, and he'll shut you down in a second. He won't care about your feelings because he's not there to entertain your feelings. He's there to make sure that you get out of hell and you stay out of it.
Most women want a man who is in tune with his feminine side, right? They want a guy that's equally balanced. Like the ones that are that would say, oh, I want my partner, or well, they probably would say partner, my husband or partner to be equal with me are the ones that want that man to have a feminine side and a masculine side. But the reality is the order is that we're, as a man, as a boy, you're born from a woman, right? And then your mom imposes a woman's spirit onto you. And part of becoming a man means that you have to overcome that woman's spirit and become a man in your manhood. But a lot of women don't want that man to just become a man. They want him to keep that woman, emotional, be able to be seduced into it, because she can pull him into identifying with her and her emotions that way, and it validates it as opposed to overcoming it. Because a man should help her overcome those emotions too, if that makes sense.
No, I totally agree, and I will be honest. Like I'm not gonna say too much because I ain't even trying to tell y'all what we talk about.
Let it out.
But we do notice certain strengths and qualities that the men that we're around have, whether it's romantic or not. It's like, okay, if I have this question, I know I can go to this person.